Hi, I'm Aaron at Bellwether Insurance. I'm once again here with my good friend Nate from Telnamics. And can't you just change the name?
No,
All right,
never.
I'm sorry. And Greenline Solutions. And we're just going to briefly talk about data breach. This is where cyber liability first came into existence. This is kind of was their bread and butter, their focus, a dozen years ago. And it still happens, and there's still huge liabilities there. So let's talk, Nate, let's talk a couple minutes about data breach.
Okay. Well, I'd start with the most common one we see, or where we have people reach out to us, oftentimes as new customers. Usually it's some sort of breach in their email system where somebody has been either spoofing their email or sending emails out to their customers and they don't know how it's happening. And usually what we'll find is that their email has been, breached by whoever, and they've managed to set up forwarding to get a copy of all of the end user's email, and then they'll spend some time within the mailbox looking at the patterns who you frequently work with and basically seeing how they can communicate with your clients as legitimately as possible. And at the end of it, what it ends up with is they send out, new wire instructions, invoices that look like yours that aren't. Sometimes they'll even specifically reference projects and invoice early. I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff. But usually it's the end result is they're trying to steal money.
Gotcha.
In other places I've seen where email security isn't set up right within the organization, and one user is trying to, or they're basically spoofing two users within the organization, or one to another. Like, for example, I had one instance where the controller was being contacted by the end user, and they were giving new directions for where to pay them every week with their paycheck.
Gotcha.
So basically it was new checking account information. And the controller caught on to it right away, but was wondering how it happened. And sometimes it's a real breach, other times it's spoofing. But a lot of the attacks anymore are email related. And once you have this information out there, and they're contacting your business associates or clients, it can be kind of embarrassing.
Sure.
There's nothing you can do to stop it once it starts.
Right.
A lot of people don't know how loose email security really is. Like, of course, your accounts can be very secure, but it doesn't mean that there aren't 10 different ways that they're trying to exploit holes in email platforms to get a fake email in and make it look legitimate. So there's some diligence related to email.
I actually, years ago, I got a spoof email that originated inside of an insurance company. Not an agency, a company, which you would think would have ironclad security.
Right.
But no, it happens to anybody.
Right.
Now, specifically though, if we're talking about, there's data breach and then there's losing pertinent customer information. The state of Ohio has some very clear laws on, what they consider sensitive customer information. It's not just name. It has to be name. It has to be, it's like, I believe it's two of three things, name and birth date, address, something along those lines. Of course, social,
right.
Everybody thinks social, any type of payment information like bank account numbers, etc. And the rules are vastly different for companies under 5 million revenue, I want to say, and over. There's still fines there, and that's one of the things that cyber insurance covers are the fines that have to be paid.
Right.
They also have payment and indemnification process in place for the customers whose data got breached. So you have to monitor their credit,
Right.
whether it's 1 or 100,000. You have to monitor their credit, and then you also have to, there's some other things that have to be done there as well. On top of that, of course, you're going to have a reputation problem after that. and there's teams in place and coverage in place for that, for your reputation management. Another aspect of that is crime. If there's an actual crime committed where, one of your, one of your invoices went out that from a spoofer, and somebody actually paid it, that's a crime,
Right.
and that has to be dealt with too, and that person has to be identified. So it's pretty complicated, and it still happens, and it's still of critical importance to have protection in place. That's kind of the root of what cyber. It's kind of I don't want to say it's all that cyber liability is. It's the root though. It's where it kind of got started, and obviously it's a really important coverage to have, especially if you've got a large. It doesn't even matter if you have a large database. If you have customer information, you better have something in place.
Absolutely.
And what we hear a lot of times is, oh, the credit card company has something, I had to sign a contract.
Right.
Read those contracts carefully, because the credit card companies protect their interest, not yours, and 9 times out of 10, that contract will not protect you. So you still have to have something in place.
Right.
But that's kind of what we see, and as far as cyber, customer data goes.
Yeah, this is a subject you can get pretty deep into, but a lot of places are going to face the more basic breaches, and that's really common. And then you're going to have the bigger companies that are more worth getting into their databases and stuff, and really that's going to be depending on how big of a company it is.
Well, that's the biggest change in the last few years. It used to be, you had to be a little scared 10 years ago if you were a bank, insurance companies, banks, financial institutions, medical especially. Now, it's the Wild West out there. They're going after soft targets.
Right.
And guess where the soft targets are?
Right.
They're larger small businesses that are still worth hitting, that they know that they don't have all the
Right.
proper processes in place.
Right.
They're easy targets. It's like leaving the door of your house unlocked.
Yeah.
So that's where we're seeing the hits now. But again, with a sound plan and a good, a good monitoring plan,
Prevention.
good prevention, and a good insurance policy, you'll be well protected against that. And correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's easier actually to fix that than, like a crypto locker or somebody that compromises all your data.
Well, I think we've seen, more recently that just in the news and everything, it takes forever to build a reputation, but you can wreck it in a day.
You
So
know,
some
you
things
know what
you
I'm thinking
can't
about? I'm
unwind.
thinking about Target. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That wasn't too long ago.
And that was a really interesting one too, because the breach was through their HVAC system.
That's
You know that was through their
that's
HVAC
wild.
controllers.
How did that happen?
So should have had that stuff secured. Why would you have your point of sale network on your
hooked up
HVAC
to
network?
That does not sound right to me.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what it was.
Wow.
So that stuff's pretty simple to separate, but they didn't do it for what reasons?
That doesn't mean, I don't know. But that's a great point, and wow.
So, yeah, gotta be reasonable and understand. There's a lot of moving parts in IT, and of course, bringing cyber security into it, it's an all-inclusive thing. It's physical security, it's security on workstations at the internet level or network level. It's everything.
Well, it's not just network, right? You're protecting, like a business, the big thing now is everybody has cell phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some sort of control over that. Laptops, portable media devices. There's
That's
so
an
many.
interesting one too.
There's so many soft points in a modern company
Yeah.
that are just easy targets.
There's been huge data breaches through people dropping flash drives in parking lots, and then someone takes it into their office, plug it in to see what's on it, or if they can get it to someone, and you just expose your whole network because of
And that's a physical breach.
Just
That's,
trying to be a nice person. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a physical breach.
wow.
So
Wow. Well, like I said, I think it's important, to have a complete plan in place.